Today we'll be having a look at and re-benchmarking the Nvidia GT 730, specifically the older, crappier model, which has 96 CUDA cores, and this particular version only has 4 gigabytes of VRAM. But the problem with that is that it's GDDR3 and very slow. The card itself was released in 2014, June the 18th to be precise, and came with, as previously mentioned, 96 CUDA cores and 4 gigabytes of DDR3 VRAM, running on a 128-bit bus. The GPU core was clocked at 700 MHz out of the box, so it was slow compared to even the faster versions of the GT 730. The best one being the DDR5 version, which had same amount of VRAM in most circumstances and ran much faster because of its increased amount of CUDA cores and better VRAM. Not only was it much slower than the other 730s, it was also not even made on the Kepler architecture. It was instead made on the ancient Fermi architecture, being 40 nanometers and much less efficient. It was actually the same core that appeared in the very bad version of the only version, the GT520, the card itself being pretty shit. And they just decided to recycle it for this one, just a bit like the GT1030 R4 edition. Now let's go on to some benchmarks. Well, I've got a few synthetics and a couple of games as well, but the thing is, I had a lot of fun trying to find games that run on this, so I ended up with 4 benchmarks, for games anyway. Okay, let's kick things off with some synthetic tests, which in this case were Unigine Heaven and Cinebench OpenGL test. In Unigine Heaven, we got a whopping frame rate of 13.1 FPS, which gave it a score of 329. This is very impressive. Both of the cards on the 8800 versus 3850 benchmark scored much higher than this. You can check those out up in the corner. And in the OpenGL test, in Cinebench, we did actually manage to get it to run this time around, and it had 16.73 FPS in the very easy to run Cinebench test. Now let's get on to some games. We managed to benchmark 4 games that all ran on this PC. We have CSGO, War Thunder, Doom 3 and Raft. So let's get on with some numbers. Starting things off with CSGO, we had a minimum frame rate of 0 FPS, maximum frame rate of 99.9 FPS, and an average frame rate of 30.7 FPS. Not great considering you want as high a frame rate as possible in CSGO. War Thunder was next up with a minimum frame rate of 29.7 FPS, maximum frame rate of 114 FPS, and an average frame rate of 39.4 FPS. It was better than CSGO, but still not what I would consider a very pleasing experience on War Thunder. Next up, we had a very old game. We have Doom 3, which even that can maintain 60 FPS constantly. We had a minimum frame rate of 44.8 FPS, maximum frame rate of 63.1 FPS, and an average frame rate of 61.7 FPS. Finally, we have Raft, which had a minimum frame rate of 6.4 FPS, a maximum frame rate of 8.3 FPS, and a disappointing average of 7.9 FPS. This thing really didn't like this card at all. So now it's time for the final verdict on the GT 730 in 2019. Is it worth it? And for that, I can quickly and easily say, no it's not. Let's explain why. The actual card, the GT 730, is not a bad card if you get the GDDR5 version, and it can still hold its own in a few lighter games. But this card, with its cut down cores and its cut down memory, creates a card that isn't great for modern gaming, and will hardly get you through even some of the basic experience like CSGO. Anyway, that's enough of that, and hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did, dislike it and say why in the comments if you didn't, and hopefully we will see you next time.